Okay, now we've got the wear bushing in, we've got the seal in with 271 Loctite around it. We're going to put the new gimbal ring, rebuilt one or a brand new one, whatever you're doing. Put the ring in here. You're going to take, there's a thin 17 thousandths washer that goes in on the top of the gimbal ring on the bottom and underneath the first transom here. And then you're going to insert your bottom pin, your bottom pivot pin, and you're going to line it up. There's a cross hole in there. You're going to line it up and you're going to put the cotter pin through it and just bend the ear of the cotter pin over. Once we get that done, we'll be back. Okay, now that we got the cotter pin in, if you pull the gimbal ring all the way over, there's a hole in the side of the gimbal rings right above the back stainless bar that you put your trim cylinders on. And you pull the ring all the way over and you bend the cotter pin a little bit and you'll get it in that hole to go through your bottom pivot pin. It takes a little time and fooling around, but you'll get it in. Now, once that's in, that's tight. You've got the 8 thousandths little thin stainless shim in here. We're going to install a swivel shaft. Underneath the steering lever, you have a stainless, it's kind of a big diameter stainless washer that goes on top of the transom assembly, right underneath the steering lever. Got a flashlight? Let me make sure it's in here. And put this down in the hole, so you can see. Alright, I got the stainless washer over underneath the steering lever. We're going to put the swivel shaft in. Be sure you put grease in the top swivel shaft bushing, grease all the way around the seal, and a little grease on the swivel shaft. And then you're going to start loading it up here. And as it goes up, you have to have a steel washer. Goes on top of the steering lever. And then you have your swivel shaft nut goes on top. And then it all loads up in. Then you take your 1/16 wrench and you start turning the nut onto the swivel shaft. And we'll be right back as soon as we pull the swivel shaft up into the steering lever and it starts to go into your upper wear bushing. The shaft will pull all the way up in, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we've greased everything up. We've put the swivel shaft up in. We've tightened the swivel shaft nut down. As you tighten the swivel shaft nut down, the swivel shaft pulls up into the recess of the ring, and you'll see there'll be a lot of slop. As you're tightening it down, the ring comes up in the air against this little 18 thousandths washer down here. That's so the aluminum don't ride on the aluminum. You don't want any up and down play. If you really want to feel the ring, if you disconnect the steering lever inside the boat, you'll be able to move the ring back and forth. As you tighten it, you'll start to feel a little bit of resistance. That's where you stop with this nut. The swivel shaft nut only adjusts the height of the ring. It does not lock down solid. Once you get it to that position, then you're going to go in and you're going to tighten down the steering lever nut and bolt with the wrench kit that we send you, or the wrench kit that you make. You'll go down in here and you'll start locking these nuts down, and when you get it tight, hook a wrench in a wrench like this, and then give it a little extra, because you do not want that steering lever to come loose. Then you'll come up and you'll tighten down your 9/16 nuts on the U-bolt. If this is a Bravo 1, 2, or 3, you tighten them down, you start to feel them coming up evenly. Right there, we got pressure on that side, and we got pressure on that side. Now the U-bolt is pulled evenly. Start tightening the U-bolt nuts one flat at a time, even flats. Like, there's a flat, there's a flat. Go one more flat. use the box end so you don't strip it off. Now you can take your torque wrench, your torque wrench, and you can snap it. We're going to start at 40 pounds. Go evenly on each side. And then we're going to go to 50 pounds. And then we're going to go to 55. Now 55 pounds is only if you're using a JR Marine U-bolt that has 17.4 U-bolt with Manel nuts. We only want to go to 55, no more. Now the U-bolt is done. If you want to come back later on and just double check it, I do not recommend using a torque wrench where you have a needle, because it's not as positive and as accurate as a clicker type torque wrench. You can come back, check it one more time. And that U-bolt's tightened up. You do not have to tighten it up ever again. If you tighten a U-bolt that's been on a boat for a while, it's a possibility it's going to go, it's going to snap off, the U-bolt will break. But these U-bolts will last a lot longer and a lot more durable than the ones you get from Mercury. Then you go in, tighten up your steering lever, and then we're going to come down and we're going to put the bellow housing back in. We'll be right back. Okay, we're getting ready to put the bellowses in. I've put the new oil tube in that goes up to your transom bottle underneath the hatch. It's a little plastic racing clamps ratchets, you know. Slide it up onto the plastic tube and get a good couple snaps on it. Do not break that nipple off in there, as we showed you before in that bulkhead fitting. Now this boat happens to have captain's call. It's got transom exhaust with silent choice going down through the prop. So the way we do it is we put bellowses on before the bell housing goes in. Just take and put a little bit of bellows adhesive around the exhaust bellows. Slide that exhaust bellows back on here, like this, and lock that bellows in the back side. And we're going to do the same with the U-joint bellows. We'll put some bellows adhesive around here, snap the U-joint bellows in, and we'll tighten down the clamps. We'll be right back. Okay, now we got the exhaust bellows put in, and we also have the U-joint bellows put in. We put soft seal around them, we tighten the clamps down. We got the oil reservoir line snapped into the back. You've got your electronic sending units on the side. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start assembling the bell housing in. First we're going to turn the bell housing sideways, and we're going to get the oil reservoir line up onto the brass barb inside and get it snapped to where we can twist it around. And we're going to push all this in here to where we can start getting our side pivot pins in. Okay, we've pushed the bell housing in. We've put onto each side of the gimbal ring on both sides, we've applied the self-adhesive nylon wear pads. It's like a fiber wear pad between the bell housing and the inside of the gimbal ring. We put red Loctite back into the threads of the bell housing, and we've torqued them with a torque wrench to 150 foot-pounds. At that point, everything is put back together. We'll straighten out the wheel to the drive square again. Kenny? Okay, good. Now, right now the bell housing is only pushed in to the exhaust bellows, the U-joint bellows, and the water hose. We have the shifter cable stuffed up in there right now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pop in the U-joint bellows up in, and there's tools for it. I can reach around and up under here and kink it and grab it with a pair of needle noses, snap it in, and we'll get all this stuff put in. We'll be back in a second to show you how to put the water line insert in. Okay, we've got the bellows, U-joint bellows in. We put the bellows ring in. We have a tool that we use here that we made for it, but you can actually start it in and put a board around it and tap it in all the way around until that little lip is even with the rubber there. Now what we've done is I've just lined up the exhaust boot, kind of slid it down in there, and I took a pair of needle nose, I grabbed that water line and I pulled the water line out through. I'm going to take now some bellows adhesive. I'm going to run it around the outside of this water line, just like that. This stuff does dry fast, so you glob it on, make a little bit of a mess with it, but then you take the water line insert with the water line insert tool, and I screw it into here, then I push it back into the bell housing, and then I keep screwing it in so it tightens up. Now, very important, do not let this water line twist. If this water line twists and kinks, you're going to burn your motor up. So you can actually work it in there, push it in there, and as you're tightening it up, you're seeing that rubber wanting to twist. Don't let it, because it'll kink in the back behind the bell housing and you'll lose water volume to your motor. Now the water line insert is in. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a little adhesive around the bellows, around the exhaust bellows, and we're going to put the nut back onto the shifter cable. The shifter cable in the back, make sure you put a little sealer on it, hold it with a split wrench, and lock your shifter cable back in. And at that point, we're going to be putting our side sending units on, adjusting them, putting the outdrive back on, and we'll be done. We'll see you at the end of the job, right as we're sliding the drive on. Okay, we're back to put the cover plate over the cutout opening. We've drilled the holes on the bolt hole pattern. We've drilled them with the drill supplied. We've tapped it quarter 28. There's a possibility that if you don't center punch this just perfect and get them on center line, when you go to put the screws in, they don't want to go in the bolt hole pattern perfect. You can ream the holes out of the plate a little bit, and that'll give the plate a little room in case you're just off center lines a little bit. So what you do now is peel the white plastic protection off of the plate. We use Ultra Black Permatex black silicone. Take and fill up each of the holes a little bit. Some of the holes actually break through to the inside of the transom, which is fine. Then evenly coat the transom plate over the mercury sticker. It's a lot better if you leave the mercury sticker on. If you try to peel it off, it doesn't want to come off. So just go right over the sticker with a thin film, like so. Then you have a gasket and the screws. You'll have the shiny side of the plate out. You got your 4 mounting screws. Once the mounting screws are in, tighten them up until you see the gasket start to squeeze out a little bit. You'll start seeing the silicone squeeze out. There's the 4th one. Whoop, and I dropped it. It's right there. When you're doing a video, everything don't work perfect. Okay, here's the 4th one going in. I snug them all down. I'm seeing the silicone start to squeeze out. Just like that. Silicone squeezing out. It's tightening up. Don't strip the thread. And I highly suggest that you just leave it sit overnight at this point. I'm getting a nice even squeeze out pattern coming around it. Just like that. Gasket's squeezing out a little bit. Just let it sit overnight. You can clean the edges up a little bit. And you're finished. All we have to do now is just slide the drive back on, adjust the trims back at the trim height. You can reset the trim height for where you checked it at the beginning of the job, and the job's over. Any other questions? My cell phone is on the website. You can call me, but this should answer about any question that you have. But I'm always here to take your questions and answers. Hey, thanks for watching us and using our product.